Hey people, it's your resident, totally unfiltered, terrible old woman. And today, on 4 days before the full moon transpires, for some reason, I have been, inspired to do a reading. You know, go with this deck, which I just opened, never opened before deck, the Affirmators Deluxe. It has really beautiful artwork. I'm going to do a 5 card reading and then slap an answer oracle on top of it. That should be fun. It's always a mystery to me. How do you open these things? But it wasn't really that hard. It has a little magnet. Opens from the side. As usual, I will put my links in the video description. Let's get started. Brand new deck. First time shuffling it up. And there may be some out there that have questions. Why don't you use filters, terrible old woman? You could make yourself look young and passable, passably beautiful. No, the reason I don't do that is because, there's all kinds of different ways to look in this world, and the idea that only one kind of way to look is the right way, you have to weigh between a certain amount, and as Jeanette McCurdy noted in her book, I'm glad my mom died, which I'll put a link to that too. It's a great book. The range is actually it's very narrow, if you fall under it, oh my God, people are going to start making comments about that. And if you go over it, oh boy, howdy, expect never to have a moment's peace. So, and then you turn into somebody like me, hopefully, who's like, fuck all that. Now, I have good days and bad days. Today is a good day. The other day during a one of the Buddhist recovery meetings that I attend, I had a bit of a meltdown when I got called on. Do you want to share? Well, I wasn't really up to it, but for some reason, instead of saying, not today, thanks, I'll pass, like a rational adult, um, I melted down. I just, started going into, oh my God, how much I just hate myself and my existence and everything. And not that you shouldn't be able to do that, especially in a setting like that where we're all recovering from addictions and other mental health issues and trauma and stuff. But I felt like, oh my God, I felt like I just dropped trow in a room full of people and there was no reason for it, like, all right, I'm gonna moon this fucker who really deserves it. I don't know. Only problem with that is you might get arrested. He probably will get arrested. But anyway, I'm going on off into these imaginary scenarios. Let's not do that right now, even though it's fun. Let's go with our 5 card spread. So, looking at this, man, I just want to show you the artwork on the back of these cards first. It's so beautiful. How the past is influencing the current situation, connection. When there's these penguins, they're talking about snow, I guess, because there's a snowflake and we speech bubble, baby penguin, and it's probably thinking, "Oh my God, these adults are so boring. I want to go play." That's what I tended to think as adult soirees when I was younger. Not that my parents went to like any real fancy parties or anything. It was mostly my my father was in graduate school, and he'd get together with the other graduate students and they'd be discussing graduate student stuff, and I was bored off my ass. But anyway, so the card here is connection, and this is how the past is influencing the present. The inscription, right? Sometimes words just, it's like, it's here, but I can't catch it. Anyway, the description, there we go, on this card. I'm connected to the multitudes and I can access their support at any time. Well, maybe if you're a penguin, I don't know. Um, it's a struggle for me to connect with people. Um, Actually, I'm going to be transparent about something. So yesterday, my son and I had an assessor come from the county to look into allowing him to be paid for certain ongoing care that he does. He doesn't do anything physically for me. I'm able to do all my physical stuff for myself. And if I did need some sort of intimate cares done, like being bathed or whatever, I would want a female caregiver because that would be just an uncomfortable situation for both me and my son. If it was my daughter, it would be different, but that's just, I'm not gonna make him do that. And I also, because of past trauma, I have trouble having male caregivers do that sort of thing. So I would want that. But, so that's a connection to the community. Yeah, the lady was real nice, and she said she'd try and swing it towards the mental health direction because physically, I'm not able to like get down on the floor to do cleaning like under the bed and stuff. My son does that, but there's a possibility that he could get paid a little bit by the county for the help that he gives me that I'm not able to do for myself. So, yeah, that's a connection to community. And the reason I decided to put that out there is because, if any of you are struggling, and I know there's like with YouTube, a lot of people who are disabled are watching, and you might not know about these things. And unfortunately, there really isn't uniformity between the states. And also, unfortunately, if you're not in the US, I can't really speak to your system on this. So it's kind of, it's really to Colorado residents what I'm speaking, but there may be some uniformity across the states, and looking into what Medicaid may be able to offer, because you may be able to have a family member or friend assist you with things and they can get paid for doing that. One of our leaders for one of the Buddhist mental health meetings that I attend has MS, and has one of their friends working as a caregiver for them full time. So I just want you to know that the resources may be out there, and it's unfortunate that it's kind of like this escape room to find them, this puzzle that you got to solve. It should be very transparent. It should be right there, but it's not. Things have improved somewhat, but boy, howdy, there's a long way to go. Anyway, I went off on that tangent. You know, It says here, even a stranger offers a sense of comfort when they smile at me or make a dumb comment about the weather. Unless, of course, they're wearing a hockey mask or something, an old hockey mask, and they've got a big machete, and it's, oh, they must be trimming the shrubbery on the side of the road or whatever. It isn't shrubbery. We don't really have shrubbery out here. It's long grass. Um, anyway, I'm being a little bit silly. Everyone is waiting to connect. All I need to do is open myself up and pay attention to a degree. And then you have to look out for the red flags. The problem with a lot of these advice card decks is a lot of this stuff is just very, it's kind of platitudes, and it's like, and then I always used to feel bad because it didn't address my situation. It's like, no, man, my situation is not like that. My son's dad and I, when the school starts again, they have, or they used to have, I'm going to have to check if they still do, but a seniors lunch on Thursday afternoons. I used to go to that, and then I started feeling really uncomfortable because I'm not one of those people where it's like, God, small talk is just like nails on a chalkboard. It doesn't really bother me. It just, you know, obviously I don't want just 2 hours of small talk or something, but, and it is a way to connect to people in the community. And if you live in a smaller community, sometimes that's good to try and attend some of these events so you get to know people, and that way you can be able to help each other out, because like especially as you're getting older, or if you have young kids and maybe something happens and you need somebody you can trust to watch them for a couple hours while you go take care of something, it's good to form those kind of connections if you can. But this sort of advice, it ignores the fact that that's very hard for some of us. For some of us, we're not wired that way, really. And the old advice was always, well, just put yourself out there. And for me, that's just like, okay, yeah, just tell me I'm a fuck up. Let's see. And they have note to self, work on witty banter about weather related stuff. Well, that's a joke right there, that, just being funny. Unfortunately, my witty banter about weather related stuff is probably going to come back to me like watching tornado videos or something, which I watch storm chaser videos. And if I wasn't crappy and decrepit, I might literally be out there doing that, because I do have kind of self-destructive tendencies. And, if I'm gonna die, it would be kind of cool to die looking face on into a disaster. This is the part of me where there was one day when I was in the laundry room and dark clouds were gathering on the horizon, and they decided to test our defense siren. I looked, and for a moment, I wasn't wearing my glasses, and because I'm usually not wearing my glasses when I'm doing laundry. And the cloud, I realized pretty quickly there wasn't, like, kind of was a tornado, maybe. I don't know. I was in this mood where, normally I'd be like, all right, we got to head to our tornado shelter downstairs, which we literally have in the basement. There's a tornado shelter. But in this instance, I was looking at it, and if that's what it had been, there would have been no fear, because I was just angry at the world. Would have been like, come at me, bitch. Um, so yeah, but as far as connection goes, and I had read I should put this one in there, link to this one, book by a fellow named Luke Stoffel. And he writes a lot about, he's a little younger than I am, but growing up Gen X and, some of the things that we encountered like in the 80s. No, excuse me. May have to pause for the frog. I'm hoping not. Um, but he did this thing where, he was asking, and I know some of you out there, I'm, as far as AI goes, it is a tool. Only thing I have really ever let it write for me is when I did this experiment to prove that AI checkers are really flawed. Um, but, you know, that's something for another time. But discussions with this AI assistant and, kind of the questions and thoughts it came up with helped him out with understanding things about himself. And so I decided, oh, why the fuck not? And I did a similar thing with Claude because I do have trouble connecting with people, and actually there was some helpful stuff in there. And so, if it helps you, why not? But here's the thing. I do not see Claude as a person, even though I refer to Claude as him. I don't see Claude as a person. It's a tool that I was using. Basically, Claude is searching for through the input I give for patterns. And through those patterns, which my cluttered up ADHD mind was not able to determine myself, and also because I'm biased against myself. But I really came up, ended up with some good stuff, some really usable stuff. So if you can use it that way, I say why not? Um, if you're actually going to start thinking this is somebody on the other end, if you're prone to that, which when I was younger, I might have been because I was so badly damaged. And so if there's a danger that way, you've got to be aware of it and maybe not try this experiment. I don't know, because it always pissed me off when like I was getting into mysticism and ceremony and stuff. If you have mental illness, don't do this. Well, I don't know. It's kind of a troublesome area because, yeah, if you have the type of mental illness where you're prone to like hallucinations or what have you, there might be a danger there, or even just the kind of self-delusionment and limerence. I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm going off the rails, which that happens. If you know this channel, you know me. I go off the rails. So this card is going to be the illustration of the present situation, the energies in the situation. I always say these cards, they are not some kind of absolute predictor of the future. This is the way the energies are trending and possibilities that are stronger than others at this point, and kind of being aware of certain things or taking advantage of certain things. But peacefulness, this card, and got your little prairie wagon. I have a peaceful, tranquil, and untroubled heart. So these are more like affirmations because immediately I'm like, no, I don't. But I'm having a better day today. So, okay, we'll use that. Um, I can bring guests, but any person, thought, or event that brings drama or chaos is not invited. Now, that is important. You got somebody that's always creating drama, bringing the fuckery. Maybe, you want to look at how you interact with that person. Because some people, maybe they mean well, but they're always causing a fuss, and it's maybe not their fault. Others, they may be downright abusive. And so it's just kind of check in with yourself. What kinds of people have you got in your life and surrounding you, and what energies are they bringing? My heart is a special property. I like that message. That's a good message. And I'm going to keep it that way so we can all keep enjoying it and I can get my security deposit back. Well, I don't know anything about security deposits, but that one, that's the takeaway right there. My heart is a special property. And if you're surrounded by people that keep stomping on your heart, well, it may be time to distance yourself from those fuckers. And maybe you can't make a clean break from them. My family kind of caused a lot of chaos and self-doubt stuff. know Trying to keep my got my little area of stuff there, but I did not want to sever ties with them. That really was never an option. And kind of pushing everybody to do the same thing, sever ties, well, it's not all the same thing. So just looking at people, and maybe you still love and care about them and want them in your life, but you got to maybe put a little distance sometimes, or step away and recalibrate. Are they somebody you can talk to about how it's going, or not? Because with my family it was not. We didn't talk about stuff. I put distance, but I never severed ties, and that's me. My situation is different from what yours might be. And if somebody really is abusive, then I strongly encourage, yes, you might you might need to sever ties, and you shouldn't feel guilt about that, if that's the case. All right, hidden influences on the current situation. Got ownership, and there's a bunch of matches in blue here, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to make a match bridge to set up. I know it's safety matches these days, but with my luck, something would set it off. I did live in an apartment that caught on fire. Well, and this was while my ex-father-in-law, my ex-husband, and I were still married at the time. He'd been in the hospital. He was in the hospital for gallbladder surgery. Um, Old toaster ovens, man. Um, those things were so easy to set off, and I'd forgotten to unplug it when we left, or both of us forgot to unplug it anyway. It didn't get unplugged, and one of the cats had jumped up on it. It just, there was no safety feature of it. It gets too hot, it turns itself off, like modern ones have. For instance, the Ninja Foodie Duo. It never gets unplugged, and I'm not worried about it. It's got all these safety features, but anyway, started fire. That whole situation, it was just so bad. I don't know how all the cats survived, but everything was just such chaos, and that was just one more thing. So anyway, the bridge of matches brings this up. Who the fuck makes bridges with matches? I don't know. If you make bridges with matches, power to you. Um, Ownership. And this is hidden influences. And to me, this is saying, terrible old woman, you've got ownership of what you do in your life. And I need that reminder. I take ownership for how I make others feel. And I've been having to do a lot of that, in recognizing like my spending addiction that really does affect other people. And I've been doing better, but I'm not going to proclaim, oh, I'm totally not ever spending money I shouldn't spend, because that wouldn't be true. Um, I am working on it and I'm doing better. I do my part to repair any bridges I might have burned. And I had to do that with my son when I first started addressing my behaviors, the lecturing and scolding and shit. That came down through my family. You could always expect lecturing and scolding, and I had always promised I wouldn't do it to him, and I did it. And I got, but when he was in his early teens, he'd come to the point where he really did not like me, and I knew that I needed to change if that was going to change. Unfortunately, we were able to repair the relationship, but I had to be so humble. And it's so hard looking back on some of the things I did. It breaks me. It makes me so angry. But that's this generational trauma. I'm going to tell you that if you go to recoverydharma.com, there are meetings that address that generational trauma. Let me just bring this out here for us. Actually, I'm going to be going to the meeting in about 20 minutes, so I better hurry this shit up, ain't I? Let me go. It's yesterday. Yesterday's meeting. I want to give you the name of this one for the generational trauma one. I think it was yesterday. Maybe it's Wednesday. I'm smoking crack hard. I go to the Letting Go Sangha Pacifica. I go to that one a couple times a week. But it wasn't that one. Maybe it was on Wednesday. I know it's in the afternoon. Yikes. That was I'm doing the dawdling authors sprints, or dawdling writer. I just need to silence that. That's the frickin' rubber ducky. Okay. Where Here I am. I had to mute her for a minute. Um, let's see. Here we go. Healing from trauma and attachment, and it's on Wednesdays. So both of those are recovery dharma. Letting go Sangha Pacifica, and healing from trauma and attachment. And the one I'm about to go to here in 20 minutes is MAT therapy, and it's for chronic pain, chronic illness conditions. And you're also in recovery from whatever, like I'm in recovery from spending addiction and addressing my internal self shame and body image issues and that. So, start small. So, actually, here that for me, this is addressing how much repairing the relationship with myself improves my relationship with other people, because I'm not going to be as much of a grouchy asshole if I'm okay with myself. And I gotta admit about being a grouchy asshole, but I am doing better. I'm doing stuff that I wish I'd done 30, 35, 40 years ago. Let's be honest. But I'm doing it now. I can do it now, or I can not do it, and I'd rather do it now. Um, so then the quip is, taking ownership is great for burning calories. Well, I don't give a fuck about calories anymore. I used to count them obsessively. Um, it fucking destroyed my life and gave me a really bad relationship with food. Um, and also started the weight cycling. And That ain't good for anybody ever. Um, that shit will wreck you. So fuck counting calories, fuck counting words. That's another thing I've got away from the counting. I mean, I do have a bit of OCD mindset, and I'm not making that as a quip. It's my OCD. No, I'm serious. I do. Mine may, there's probably a big tie-in with my ADHD. I'm sure of that. But I'll do things, you know, counting. The counting thing is actually a way of breaking out of spiraling. Like, what deck should I use today? Oh, okay, well, it's the 24th. I'll grab the 24th deck off the shelf or something like that. Or, um, a lot of the time the t-shirt I choose, it's all right. What are the colors for this day according to astrology or whatever? It's very loose. I'm not super obsessed about that. I won't let myself be because I could be easily. I could easily fall into that. It's just the loose ways. I'm not going through my clothes. Oh my God, I don't want to grab this one. Planter. Oh, shoot. Well, she's right here. Anyway, it's from Auto Crit's store. So the place I have to avoid most of the time because it's like an alcoholic going into a bar for the compulsive shopper. Anyway, so the time is ticking. It's like, come on, terrible old woman, move it on. All right. Advice and insight into the course of action one should take at this point. Confidence. Well, here we have a refrigerator. The refrigerator is saying, I'm almost out of almond milk, bitch. Go get almond milk. So, confidence. In this moment, I take a step back and look at myself with the pride of a good mother. Well, I'm a mother with good intentions. I've been very flawed, but I'm doing better. It could have turned out a lot worse. There's always been something in me that maybe when think when things really become critical, I do I do somehow find the way. I see an abundance of abilities and talents that show up all the time in big and little ways. And for me, I'm having to learn to recognize those, to rebuild my fiction writing practice, which was so important to me. It really was. It's so important. It's critical to being able to express myself. It's critical to breaking that fucking ADHD chatter, maybe using some of it to turn into something shutting fuck up. And it is important. I always say, well, when um like in autocrit that classes, they will often say, the world needs your stories. Well, I've never felt like that. So who the fuck needs my stories? But maybe, this is my story. And anyone who's watching this might be like, holy fuck, the things this nutty old broad is saying are really resonating with me right now. So, okay, if I did that, then that's a triumph for right now and right on. So, yeah, I'll say it, even if it sounds trite. Yeah, the world needs your stories. Don't fucking let AI write them. I do let Claude take all my 10,000 words of fucking notes that I make and compile them into an outline with bite-sized pieces because I can't do that myself. And so that's the kind of shit I use Claude for, other than like for research and for chatting with Claude about, hey, Claude, do you recognize some patterns in my crazy ass thinking? And so, yeah, I'm not totally anti-AI. It has its uses. Um, but well, I let it write something. The few times I have, and it was like I said, for an experiment, um, to prove the AI checkers are flawed, and I don't like it when publishers use them because the piece I wrote myself, and I didn't even run it through Grammarly or anything like that. I did a very basic copy edit on it to check any for any overt typos. And then I fed the same topic into Quick Write and said, write me an essay about this. Then I fed my essay into the AI checker. Then I fed Quick Writes in. My essay came back as being flagged as probably created by two AI programs that I have never used, not even once. I didn't even know what one of them was. It was really all right because I didn't write that. But anyway, I did write it. Then I fed Quick Writes through, and it got flagged as possibly, um, having been helped along by one of these programs. So the AI checker flagged the human created piece, and yeah, maybe on the piece that was literally created by AI. So, other thing where it's been like AI created is if you look for it, it's, bad Lovecraft stories, and that's an AI that just takes Lovecraft's writing and jumbles stuff into something terrible, and it's pretty hilarious. And I was thinking about actually taking one of those and editing it into something that actually works, but I don't really have time. I've never gotten around to it. All right, so here's this little thing on the card. If I could stick myself on a refrigerator, I would. Well, if I could stick myself in front of a refrigerator that actually had stuff I really want to eat, that would make me happy. Right now, it's kind of like, okay, here's some cheese. I don't know. Um, I would invite all the neighbors over and say, "Look at that! Can you believe what an A plus that is?" I don't know about grading systems, but I've always felt those were kind of flawed too. All right, so that's advice and insight into the course of action I should take, which basically is saying to me, keep working on this shit. It's starting to work. All right, the outcome or consequence, if the situation remains unchanged, if the energies remain unchanged. Roots. So here's kind of a miserable looking tree. Maybe its back is hurting. Oh, and it's daydreaming about being an acorn. And I often find myself kind of obsessing on stuff that happened when I was a kid. Why everybody was so fucking mean to me. I just wanted to, play and have fun with them. And they were assholes, a lot of them. But those ones weren't the ones that hurt as much as like the ones I thought were my friends. And then one day I see them sneaking off without me so they wouldn't have to play with me. That one was, that's stuck there. Anyways, I remember where I came from, for better or for worse. I am grateful for the person I've become, either because of or perhaps despite my upbringing. As I move through life, I keep gathering or growing and changing. Well, maybe that was an interesting Freudian slip. Let's think about that. But I can't marvel at the magnitude of my journey without reflecting on where it all began. And I've been trying to be kinder to my inner child. My inner child is the one who loved all the art and writing and stuff. I wasn't like thinking about becoming famous with it. I didn't start thinking about that shit until I was in my teens, and wow. Wow, when I think back on that, I, if there'd been the internet then, I might have been one of those kids that ended up a statistic. There's kind of a strong possibility of it because it's like there was just no escape. There's no escape from the barrage when you got the social media on top of it. Oh, that's try not to drop it behind the desk. Uh, oh, good. Stop it like that. That tends to be the issue, and then I'd have to get my son here to retrieve it because I couldn't. And then this is like for, um, a little demonstration, but I like the answer oracle. It's really, well, I said should be used with tarot. No, it should be used wherever the fuck you're going to use it. So we're just going to kind of our clarification comment. My butt has to get going here. I've been talking at you for 40 minutes. Okay. What does the clarification card reveal? Well, let's do this. Exam. All right. Any of you out there about to take an exam? Get prepared. Diagnostics, certificates, election, and registration. All right. Make sure you're registered to vote because we've got to try during the midterm elections to get some of these shitty ass people out of there. My God, that's a whole different world. It makes my head want to explode that some of these people are in there. It's like, my God, what is wrong with you? Why would anybody vote for this? Um, but no, if you have an exam coming up, I'm going to take that. If you've studied for it, if you didn't stay up all night drinking the night before or whatever, and you've studied for it, I'm not talking about you have to obsessively do nothing but study for your upcoming exam because that's not good either. That I would hyper focus when I studied for the nursing exam. What I hyper focused on was the math because I'm not good at math, actually. So I, I kind of would have wanted to be doing just about anything else. I hyper focused on the math. Then there was only like 3 math questions. Um, but no, if you got a important exam coming up, yeah, do study for it, of course. Maybe I'm only talking to people with ADHD here, but try not to let yourself spiral into the hyper focus. For me, hyper focus, if it goes beyond a certain point, it increases my anxiety so much. And that's no bueno. Um, but other than that, yeah, I take that as a positive sign for you. Um, just just do what you can do. It does not have to be perfect. And, do if you struggle like I do with it, learn how to talk to yourself more kindly, see the good in yourself. I've been able to shut discount Jillian Michaels down a lot more often than I used to. It's it's been too hot to exercise. There's no AC in this house. The other night I was able to do a little bit of yoga and I was glad about that. We're looking for solutions for maybe how to get things cool, a little cooler in here, because we also have to keep the electric bill in mind. I'm not totally pouring sweat at this point. I've got this fan that sounds like a propeller. That's my constant roommate probably till September. Yeah, this little. I've seen it from the back. Well, this fan, actually, if it's close to you, it's really good. And I swapped it out. It plugs into your computer. I swapped it out for the bigger one that I have that plugs into the computer. You'd think the bigger one would be better. It isn't. Go figure. Sometimes small and mighty. I'm going to say goodbye to you folks for this session. Maybe I'll do it again on full moon day in 5 days, I think. But for now, peace, and I'll see you on the next one.